Are you messing with my thing? Jeez. Good evening, Warriors. Welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell, and I hit the mute button 17 times, apparently, and it went on and off and on and off, and nothing worked. It's because we've done 150 of these things, and I still don't know how anything works technology-wise. My name is Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. What's up, sir?
Nada. I mean, lots of stuff going on. Tons of stuff. Sports.
Time out. I
didn't mess with anything.
I literally asked you what is going on, and you said nothing, and then quickly changed to lots going on.
Well,
so which is
it?
Which is it? Is a lot going on or not a lot going on?
Can I pick on you?
No.
Because the very first text I got from you today said, and I quote,
text you today?
I quote, I had to get the power rankings up quick so nobody saw my terrible NFL picks for the week.
Everyone go focus on my high school and college picks, please, and not my 8-8 in NFL. I went 17-3, I think, right?
I laughed.
High school and college combined, and horrible.
17, yeah. You went 9-1.
I only said that as a joke because literally I got them done and got ready to post and saw 4 minutes ago that you had posted our NFL results, and I went, I'm going to bury these.
I had them set, and that's where I normally set them at 10. So I probably better back it up to 9 and have it set at 9 because
it's honestly just when I'm able to get them all edited. Actually, real quick, I'm going to shout out all 7 of you that also help me out doing the power rankings, that send me all this stuff. Obviously, we have to wait for Monday Night Football to get done before we can get official rankings in. There's a couple of people that, obviously have to do the team write-up for those teams, and there's some that, will not even get into most of those until games are done. Anyways, I had all 7 sets at a decent time last night. If I was feeling a little off, so I ended up just going to bed a little early, but I could have had them done last night with how fast everyone got them in. So I will shout out all of you that helps do that, because
I think
again, I mean, life happens and schedules happen, and Kennedy a lot of the times has to work, and sometimes she works till midnight. So I've kind of got into the setup where everything I get, I'll edit down and have ready to go. And then once I'm able to do it, I get in there. Yeah, Chris went 8-8 with me, so I don't feel as bad, but
I'm just excited. I finally have a lead in one of our picks.
So actually, I thought about this, and the one thing I partially regret is I keep all of our crazy history stuff in our bowling league. One thing I don't keep is the history of all the picks. I just continue to use the same program over and over and reset stuff.
Right.
Because in the end, it doesn't really matter. But I'm pretty sure this is what I do every year. I struggle for the first 4 or 5 weeks while the NFL tries to sort itself out. And then I get myself into the money by the end of the year. I don't win the thing because I put myself in such a hole. But I would bet that I am outside of the top 10 on week 4 in most of the years that we've done the pick 'em.
I can't believe Cameron Jewett. He's been there the last 2 years, the first few weeks, and then he kind of teeters off a little bit. But
because then we all figure it out except for him. No, so once again, I mean, the power rankings have been so much fun to do. I'm so glad that we've been able to get other voices out, partially because we have now a full-time segment in our second hour where we can all debate and have a good time and make fun of Chris. And that's not true. But Chris continues to hate the Cowboys, and we will get into that. No PowerPoint slides because, man, the internet here is just wonky, and the computer is not liking it. So just trying to give it less to do has been the best way to go.
This is now 2 weeks in a row, a little rough, not writing about the Seahawks. I mean, it's okay. That was one of the teams I took. I was excited about it. But let me tell you, I could have went off on that game last night. And
no, you got to go off on that game here shortly. We'll talk about it. Major League Baseball has started their playoffs today.
Who would have figured Tampa Bay losing Game 1?
Well, yeah, they're okay. I forgot to see who the bullpen was for Texas, because that's all you have to do is get to their bullpen. But I didn't see who all came into that game.
I'd say I know Montgomery started, but
yeah, there's a lot of ex-Yankees that are in the postseason. Almost a full team's worth. It's fantastic. It's just so much fun. We will talk about the wild card round as game ones for the American League are both completed. The National Leagues are going on as we speak. And by the time we come back on the show next week, the next round will be going. And that is true. 4 errors, as Eric says, 4 errors is a lot. And you commit that many, it's going to be difficult to win a game, especially in the playoffs. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the players that got honored on that last day of the regular season, especially because that was really all we had. Everything else got locked up on Saturday. A couple of playoff spots.
I was just say the exception.
The AL West and the bye week was still up for grabs on Sunday, but though by like inning 3, that was done as well. Obviously, we'll talk a lot of the NFL, talk about what we found most impressive from week number 4. We'll look at the power rankings. And yes, we will talk about the travesty that happened at MetLife Stadium. And no, I'm not talking about the 97 times we had to see both Aaron Rodgers and Taylor Swift in the crowd. Shout out to Tom Grossi, who will never watch the show in the history of his life. But shout out to him. He was keeping track of who was shown more. And at one point, they were tied 7-7. This was still in the first half. And then I did not see another tweet about where that score ended up. But I have things to say about that game.
Well, I mean, it even gets even better with, Kelsey's mom sitting there with Jake from State Farm on the earlier game.
In the first game. And she's going all over the place. She's having a good old time. I give her credit. Obviously, we'll get into a lot of the local sports, both high school and college. We'll do our high school and college picks, another 20 of them for you this week, as well as our Thursday night football pick. All of that stuff you can find on our R&R Sports Report Facebook page. And then, of course, we will end the show with Aussie Rules Football. They had their grand final on Friday at a beautiful time. It worked out great, unless you were Hagen and got tired at halftime, which was funny.
I did,
because I had a brain fart and totally spaced what time it was until about halftime of that game. I didn't tell you this, but I turned on the game, and 5 minutes later, you said you went to bed. So you watched the first half live. I watched the second half live, and then you went back and watched it. And we'll get into other stuff as well.
You know, I'm old. I've got you beat by a few years. So
yeah, 37 years. Sports related draft. It'll be an interesting one. See what you guys think. Again, that's always the top of the second hour. But I went with greatest send-offs. So we'll get into it more as what this all entails and what the rules are, because Hagen tried to break the rules instantly with his first pick. But if anybody saw the Miguel Cabrera send-off on Sunday and what Detroit did for him, that is the kind of reason for the draft.
And I posted a video. If you have not seen it, go to our R&R Facebook page, watch that. It's about 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long,
and very edited. Then
edited.
It was long. It was fantastic, but it was long. All right. And also, before we do get underway, best wishes to the family of Tim Wakefield. Yep. Very shocking passing for him, former Boston Red Sox pitcher, the great knuckleballer, one of the last ones that really made an impact in Major League Baseball. As a Yankee fan, I hated him. But he's also the reason why Aaron Boone's anything right now, because he gave up that home run to Booney, and now we can't get rid of him.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same sentiments. I sent the same thing to Richie and his same sentiments. I mean, unbelievable pitcher, all that, what he could do in his career, making a knuckleball just dance in no rotation whatsoever. But it was very shocking. I didn't know he was sick and read a little bit more, and they just said undisclosed disease and all that. So, tough day with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it. Monday Night Football. And was I the only person out there in the world that really missed 2 Monday Night Football games? Because this was impossible to watch. I mean, I get it if you're a Seahawks fan. This was fantastic to watch. The defense was amazing for Seattle. They completely dominated this game. I picked the Giants just to be out front and open about it. But you could tell by the first quarter, it was like, well, that's a bad pick. Like the offensive line of the Giants, people were getting on the wrong New York team about having a bad offensive line. Not to say the Jets have a good offensive line. The Giants, straight Swiss cheese.
Yeah. It was tough because I watched the first like probably 10 minutes of the game. And then Denise got home, so we talked and had dinner and then came back. It was second halftime, but it's almost like it was night and day with that team as how they figured. They looked halfway decent on paper, but watching that offensive line, watching one of their offensive linemen go down, it's just like now you got a rookie at center. It wasn't
even the center that was a problem. The left tackle got destroyed multiple times.
Both sides. I mean, Reed ate him up.
And it just seemed like you could tell the Giants just started giving up throughout that second half. And then the sack numbers just really piled up there in that fourth quarter. Why Daniel Jones was still out there for as long as he was completely shocking to me, especially after the pick six. That's a good time to go, all right, we're down a bunch. Let's just move on, please. I
asked the question because Ben Levitt and I share rooms right across from each other, and he asked me if I watched the game. I said, yeah. I said I was more entertained after he came and threw that pick six, and you see Dable go over and try to chat with him, and Jones is like totally ignoring him, and you watch Dable just chuck that surface tablet. It makes me really
absolutely frustrating.
We really wonder what is going to happen with them here in the next week or two.
And I'm with Chris. I've listened to some, and I haven't seen a ton of talking heads going straight for Daniel Jones, other than the ones that were already out to get him.
Right.
I think you go out after Daniel Jones because of the ridiculous contract that he got. It continues to show why you did not need to pay him that much money. But this game is not on Daniel Jones.
Not at all.
Now, he throws the pick six that completely eliminates any chance that the Giants are going to win this game. They score a touchdown there. It would have been a one-possession game. Instead, it's just over, and it was a bad throw by Jones. But like Chris said, the line was terrible. He had zero chance to throw the ball. 11 sacks in this game. 10 of them were against Jones before they finally said, all right, we're done with you. But out of those 10 sacks, what was the average time before he got hit to the ground? 2 seconds, 3 seconds. There were multiple times where he took his 3-step drop and then got dropped. So there's zero that you can do there. And for the Giants, you have to worry about this team as a whole. I mean, Saquon Barkley not playing obviously is a big loss for this team. But even with him out there, what do they have? They don't have a lot of good skill position weapons offensively right now. The defense is okay. But this is not a playoff team by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing that came out of this game is you heard a lot of people already say Ryan Clark was quoted saying, "Well, this team's done already." And I'll ask you that we're 4 weeks in,
right?
Is this team done after 4 weeks?
100%. Spoilers for the power rankings. But it's a team that we won't talk about because there wasn't a big spread or nothing. But I might have been the only one too. But I put the Giants last. Yes, there are a couple of teams that are actually 0-4, but nobody looks worse than this team through 4 weeks. Right? They got completely embarrassed by Dallas, and now they got completely embarrassed here by Seattle. They have one win. It's not a good team. At least with the other teams that are 0-4, they've shown signs of life at times. Chicago had a good lead against a bad Denver team and blew it. Carolina, it's a rookie quarterback. He's going through his growing pains, and we'll talk about that game a little bit later too. But at least with those teams, they're showing signs.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any better. You get Miami this week, Buffalo on Sunday night, and the week after, and then Washington, another divisional team.
Yeah, and Washington is sneaky good. Like they got completely destroyed by Buffalo 2 weeks ago, but we saw what the Bills did against Miami. Obviously, Bills are a fantastic team, but I like Washington as a sneaky playoff team in the NFC, even without a quarterback on that team.
And Howell has not been
he's
super
been
bad.
Okay.
He's been okay. He's been, I think, above mediocre, above average. I mean,
but that's what Ron Rivera does. He doesn't really need a quarterback. He just comes up with ways to come up with victories, and it works. But yeah, the Giants season is done, and you didn't even hit the main point. They get Miami next week after Miami got embarrassed by Buffalo. It's not going to be pretty. I told you I was going to take the Giants as my loser pick, but I already took them against the 49ers, so I had to go a different route.
I'm shocked how many has not went that direction already.
But I will say, let's switch off to a team that's actually good, and then the Seattle Seahawks continue to impress. I think both of us in the preseason had them second in the division.
I think so.
They were right on the cusp of a wild card pick for both of us. I can't remember if we picked them or not. It's been a month and my memory sucks. But they continue to show exactly why. Geno Smith gets hurt in this game, kind of gets tackled from behind. I like the fire that he had right after that, where he went back on the field and just yelled at the dude. However, I don't blame the defender there. It wasn't a horse collar. He just kind of got in behind him and ended up landing on Geno's legs. I don't think he did anything on purpose or was out there to try to hurt him by any means. But Geno, obviously knowing that at any moment, his comeback that he had last year could end it at any second with an injury, was a little frustrated with it. But Geno has looked really good. Walker and Charbonnet have been fantastic behind the lines. Obviously, that wide receiver core is really, really good. And the defense,
including Fant, because Fant made a couple of great plays, and he's one of those tight ends that you don't ever hear a ton out of.
Yeah.
And he's quietly taking.
He was part of that Russell Wilson trade, right? Yeah. So the offense has a ton of weapons around Geno Smith, and so offensively, I think the Seahawks are good, and defensively, I mean, this is no Legion of Boom by any means, but I say that while they get 11 sacks yesterday, but Devin Witherspoon, who had that pick six, was phenomenal. He was flying all over the field. I still feel really bad for Jamal Adams, who since that trade with the Jets just cannot stay on the field. He's so good. He's such a good player, and I know a lot of Seahawks fans are really down on him because he's had some bad play when he's out there, and then he's dealing with all these injuries, and they're like, we gave up 2 first-round picks for this guy. He's never on the field, and when he is, he's not what he was for New York. But he has so much fire, and if he can ever stay healthy enough, I think he's going to be a great part of the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, he made a couple of decent plays. He missed one sack that he should have had, like on play 4, and then he came back in the very next play, just a house of fire. But 9 plays, and you take a knee to the head and it was accidental.
No, 100%, it's not. I wasn't going to say on purpose, accidental or not. This shows why Jamal Adams gets hurt. He doesn't have the greatest tackling form. Right, he led with his head down towards the knee, and that's what really set himself up to get kneed in the head. He did not take the polling kindly. No, we'll say that.
Either way, from either coming off the field or even after he came out of the tent, because
it's got to be so frustrating for him.
It's frustrating, but these players have to realize that there's an individual that's keeping an eye on everybody.
Of course. And they're out there for their safety.
And then they're independent guys. They have nothing to do with the teams whatsoever. And him to yell at that guy as much as he did, it just was like
I think it was also the Giants game too. Because on Sunday I mostly watched the red zone, and then we were bowling during the Jets-Chiefs game, so I wasn't listening to the audio. But I think it was this Giants game too, where they pulled a lineman off the field for concussion protocol.
Arizona.
Was it Arizona?
Yeah, I watched it. I was at home.
Yeah. So they pulled him off the field. He waited a play and then tried to go back out there. And they're like, no, come here. You have to go back to the blue tent. And I saw that on there. I was like, that was so wild.
It was San Francisco, Arizona. I'd watched it, and you watched him kind of get up and trotted off and then tried to come right back on. But
so yeah, just wild stuff.
Let me throw this at you, and I want your opinion because I love listening to Scott Van Pelt after Sunday's games and Monday night's game, and him and Ryan Clark were talking about Devin Witherspoon, number 5 pick for Seattle. Great, and you could see the way he was flying around the field. Great play. I'm sorry, but Ryan Clark has already used the words Hall of Famer. We're 4 games into his rookie year.
I mean, obviously, I didn't listen to the interview, but I'm sure if they said Hall of Fame talent,
Oh no,
that is different.
He
But,
said he should be in the Hall of Fame. We're 4 games in.
well, again, I think he more means like if he continues his trajectory. Like, I think Sauce Gardner is going to end up in the Hall of Fame if he continues to improve and play like he has been. So you can say that about Devin Witherspoon too, because he's made some fantastic plays and looks really good for Seattle. So we'll see where that all goes. All right, let's shift gears here for Major League Baseball. Going on right now, bottom of the 5th inning, the Arizona Diamondbacks have a 4-3 lead over the Milwaukee Brewers, and Philadelphia is all over Miami right now, 3-0 in the top of the 5th. We'll talk more about those here shortly, but let's look at the American League, and let's start with the first game of the day, which was those Texas Rangers getting a 4-0 win over Tampa Bay on the road. Nathaniel Lowe started it with a sac fly in the 2nd. Corey Seager scoring on a wild pitch in the 5th. And then Seager knocks in 2 runs off a single to center where Siri bobbled the ball and then threw it over the third baseman's head. As Eric had mentioned in the comments, the Rays with 4 errors in this game. Montgomery, very strong 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 strikeouts. Now, again, the wild card, best of 3 series, but all 3 games are at the same place. So all these games are in Tampa Bay, but they are now on the ropes. They have to win these next 2 games. It is at home, but do you think Tampa Bay is done, or can they make the comeback?
Anything can happen with this team. Mm-hmm. Looking at it, and you made me look at Chapman was one of the relievers for the Rangers.
And that's shocking. They didn't give up 37 runs.
Leclerc was the other one. Mm-hmm. So
Jose Leclerc has been really good since coming off the IL. So,
but the thing about it is, you look at how deep that lineup is for Tampa Bay. You look at Ramirez. You look at Arozarena, Diaz. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go against them. You really don't. But what this young Rangers team has been doing this year,
I don't even know if I'd call the Rangers young. They've added a bunch of pieces. Guys. They spend a lot of money. Obviously, every team has a bunch of young guys, but really now, I mean, Texas, I thought, and I had them in my power rankings a lot this year in the top 5, are really, really good. I think overall they are a better team than Houston. Their bullpen is just so bad. And for them to be able to hold them today is really, really big. I still would not push Texas deep into the playoffs because of those bullpen woes. But obviously Tampa Bay with the 4 errors at home is not doing themselves any favors. As Eric says in the comments, it is doable. And I do agree with him that it's very possible, especially because you have your 2 games here at home. Also, thank you, Major League Baseball, for not doing this the way the NBA does and stuff, where we're taking 17 days off between games. It's literally all 4 series are happening every day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, if they make it to Thursday at the exact same times, everything's set. It's beautiful. We got 4 games of baseball today, been able to watch it here and there. So nice that we're just, here's your games. We're going to move on. We don't need to make sure that every game is at the 7 p.m. Eastern time slot every time. So let's have game 1 of this one here and then game 1 here. And then you have 3 days off.
And I totally spaced it that we were, the first game started at 1:00. So it was, dang, I messed it on lunch. I could have been.
Yeah, it goes by quick.
So I think it's doable. I agree with Eric. Yep. I think it's very doable that this team goes 3 games.
Again, these wild card series get done and the divisional round starts before we come back on the show. So the winner of this series gets the Baltimore Orioles. Can either of these 2 teams beat Baltimore in that series?
Baltimore has been at the top of our list all season long, and with Henderson and what he's doing, I'm going to lean towards Baltimore in this one.
All right, now we move on to the other game that happened today. Minnesota finally got the giant monkey off their back. So cool. 18-game postseason losing streak for the Twins finally snapped They won one. They got one.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
How about the rookie Lewis?
Mhm.
First time his first two appearances, both home runs with that one. He was so excited with the post game on it. It's nuts to see that one. But
Mhm.
God, I just don't know what else you can see coming out of this team. I mean, you
Right.
got Correa there.
Mhm.
He's a great fit for that team, but I don't know if they can hold off, George Springer, Bichette, and those guys. So
This Minnesota team, I mean, you look at the records, and we made fun of the AL Central all year long, and NL Central as well. Minnesota did absolutely nothing at the trade. They did a couple small moves, but nothing too crazy. Far more than the other teams in their division. So just record wise, they're not sexy by any means. But
right.
Royce Lewis, as you had mentioned, in the second half of the year has been insane. And he does it again here with a pair of home runs. Pablo Lopez looked good. And I like the fact that he only went 5 2/3 and try to save his arm a little bit and use some of the bullpen, make sure you hold on to your lead. But I more worry that, I had Toronto in the World Series, but this offense is not what I expected it to be. Like Vlad still has not really gotten out of this funk all year. They have some good players. Like on paper, this is like San Diego. Like you look at the lineup just on paper, you're like, man, how are you going to get through these 9? And then you see the end of the day, you're like, he scored one run, had a few hits, and never really threatened, and nobody is really getting into a groove. And watching bits and pieces of this Minnesota Toronto game today was completely different than the Texas Tampa Bay game. Texas was laying down bunts all over the place, so was Tampa Bay. Uh, Eric might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Siri that went for a bunt that he just got underneath, and Montgomery had to make a ridiculous diving catch to make. But they were playing small ball. They're trying to move people around. Toronto doesn't play that way, and they can't get out of their own way for that. So it's to me that Toronto is kind of like what the Yankees have been the last 10, 15 years, where if they can hit it out of the park, they're going to beat you. But if you can keep them confined within those walls, and they're going to have a tough time beating you. And that's what Houston did so many years, was taking them out. And that's what I also worry about, because the winner of this series gets the Houston Astros. So while I usually don't root for other teams other than the Yankees, Yankees are out. So I'm just watching, hoping for good games, hoping for crazy moments, game sevens and all that stuff. But whoever wins this series is a team I have to root for, because Houston is my least favorite team. And we will see. However, I don't think either of these two teams have any chance against the Astros.
I don't either, but I really think for Toronto to turn this around, as much as I think there's a lot more firepower, Springer's got to get going.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. 0 for 5 today. And, and he had the ground out to the smallest guy on the field, Solano, playing first base, 5'8". But yeah, I mean, he has to get something happening for this team to catch a spark, and that's the need thing against Minnesota.
And Eric did say he was pretty sure it was Siri, and I do agree. If Tampa Bay and Baltimore in a best of 5 series would be a lot of fun. That's what happens with divisional opponents. I still, like I said, I don't think Minnesota or Toronto, if they come back, would have any chance against Houston, and that's disappointing. National League, again, those two games are still going on right now. Same scores, 4-3 Arizona over Milwaukee in the top of the 6th. Corbin Carroll had a 2-run home run in the 3rd. Ketel Marte made it back-to-back, and that tied the game at 3. Milwaukee scored 3 runs in the first 2 innings, and Arizona's used 3 home runs to take the lead. Winner gets the Dodgers. Now, I think we have said since April that if it's not, well, maybe not April, because the Dodgers had a slow start, but we'll say since the All-Star break, that if it's not Atlanta and the Dodgers in the NLCS, we'll be absolutely surprised. Has that changed for you?
Not at all.
And actually, I'll just answer it like this so we can move on to the next topic. Out of these 4 teams, Diamondbacks, Brewers, Marlins, Phillies, who has the best chance to pull off the upset in the divisional round? Diamondbacks and Brewers, the winner would take on Dodgers. Marlins and Phillies would take on the Braves.
I think the Phillies.
Yeah.
They've gotten hot here at the very end. They're coming on the right time.
And it's exactly what they did last year.
Yeah, I think it has to be the Phillies. But I'll be totally surprised if it's not those two teams in the NL.
Yeah, the Phillies, this is exactly what they did last year. Better record than they had last year, actually. And they blew up a lot of people's bracket predictions by beating a lot of teams that we've thought, all right, this team has a chance to be in the World Series. Oh, never mind. It's the Phillies. So we will say, I agree with you. And I just love the fact that it's just the NL East side of that bracket with the Marlins and Phillies going at it, and the winner gets Atlanta. It's fun how that all worked itself out. Let's continue with Major League Baseball as, again, while Texas and Houston were trying to win the AL West, and that was very important for the bye week. By the way, thanks, Seattle, for allowing Houston to get the bye. It's fantastic of you, after getting eliminated, to finally remember how to win a baseball game.
Saturday game was not pretty.
No.
At all.
Sunday shouldn't have been either. You should have laid down for the betterment of Major League Baseball. That's all I'm saying. So the thing that I got to watch, other than, my 2 fantasy baseball championships coming down to the wire, was just all the celebrations that were going on throughout Major League Baseball. I watched, what do they call it? On the Big Inning or something on my MLB app, where I can watch all my games and stuff. They have one that's kind of like the Red Zone. And it's just, they're flipping through games and split screening a bunch of stuff. So it's really fun for just, especially with the Yankees. I didn't care at that point, especially with what happened in that game. So just to kind of see the different celebrations these teams did for some of their veteran players. And we had several of them on Sunday. We'll start with that Yankee game with Zach Greinke. He had 1 win on the year. He was 1-15, which was insane to me.
Yeah.
Just obviously Kansas City was no good. But Greinke had a really rough final year. Again, 1-15 before facing the Yankees, and then I want to say it went 5 or 6 shutout ball. But they did a really cool thing where he pitched to 1 batter in the next inning, gave up a base hit, and then they pulled him out. And you know how the pitcher usually hands the ball to the coach. He did that. They had a quick conversation. The coach gave him the ball back, and he put it in his back pocket. And it looks like that'll be Greinke's last game. Got the win at the end. Adam Wainwright did not pitch in his final game. He came in as a pinch hitter, which was so awesome, because Wainwright is one of those pitchers that will be remembered for actually being really good at the plate. I mean, obviously it's no Ohtani, but Madison Bumgarner and Adam Wainwright are the first 2 that really come to mind. Kerry Wood, I think, too. That was like, they were like in the National League. Those were the teams that are like, they don't lose anything with the pitcher spot with these guys coming up. So it was awesome that a pitcher in his last outing, he didn't come in as a reliever or nothing. He just came out and hit.
Did he sing the national anthem?
That I don't know,
because
he's done it before.
He did surprise everybody by doing it. But I really like this guy. That one, Wainwright, will be one of those ones you miss watching.
Oh yeah,
I could easily see him becoming a pitching coach someplace.
Hampton was a long time ago, but yes, I did forget about Mike Hampton and his ability to hit.
Well, listen, Greg Maddux could hit some too.
Yeah, I just don't want to go that far back.
Oh no.
And then of course Miguel Cabrera. Again, he is the reason for our sports-related draft at the top of the hour. From his kids announcing him for his first at bat, to them sending him out to play first base, and of course the first batter hits it right to him, so he makes an out. And so they instantly pull him from the game, and his kids come out to help pull him. And it's like a 10-minute stoppage of play where everyone on his team goes out, gives him a hug. You can see the opposing team's bullpen come running out because they wanted to be a part of the celebration as well. And then after the game, they have even more with him and get an interview with him. And of course, somebody dumps water on him. It was really great. That is a perfect send-off for one of the better players of the last 25 years. Just a complete tearjerker situation, but just everything kind of lined up perfectly. They weren't playing anyone in a playoff hunt. They weren't in a playoff hunt, so both teams had zero issue just stopping everything and making sure that he was able to get his flowers that day.
Yeah, and you look at how his career was, and we've talked about him many times, how much of a people person he was on the field, and he kept people engaged and all that. But the biggest at bat that I remember of his has to be one of the first ones as him in a Marlins uniform against Roger Clemens, and Clemens goes high and up on him, and next pitch, Miggy takes him deep.
It's crazy to think that he was a rookie in 2003.
Yeah,
when the Marlins won the World Series, and it was him and Josh Beckett.
Yeah,
were the reason that team went on that crazy run, and everyone knew he was going to have a great career, but just not as long as he was, and it was just fantastic for him. So, real quick, out of those three, just yes or no, are they Hall of Famer? I mean, obviously Miguel Cabrera is 100% yes.
100%, yeah.
Actually, the bigger question is Miguel Cabrera going to be the second player ever to be unanimous?
I think somebody's going to say no, but I think he gets in.
I'm with you.
And somebody's going to say, no, he didn't. He doesn't qualify someplace. And
just for those that don't know, Miguel Cabrera, 2-time MVP, 7-time Silver Slugger. He had a triple crown in his career. Also won the World Series, like I said, in 2003. Over 3,000 hits, over 500 home runs in his 21 seasons. He should be unanimous.
He should be.
Again, he's one of the better players that I have seen in my lifetime. Obviously, Mariano Rivera is the only one that's been unanimous. Jeter missed it by a vote because somebody turned in a blank ballot because people are jerks. And I honestly, I think that's what's going to happen with Miggy as well. Is somebody will go, well, he can't be unanimous, so I'm going to
just leave it blank,
go against. The other two are interesting. Before you answer the question, I'll go through it. Adam Wainwright, 200 wins, 3.53 career ERA, just over 2,200 strikeouts. He played 18 seasons, 3-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glover, and he won the World Series in 2006. Yes or no, Hall of Fame?
I say yes, but it's going to be a couple of years.
I say no, unless you can somehow combine him and Yadier Molina together, because that is the best duo for as long as they did it. Yadi, obviously, I think will make the Hall of Fame. Wainwright, 200 wins is not that impressive. He would be one of those guys that I bring up as the Hall of Very Good. No. He was fantastic as a pitcher, but Hall of Fame worthy, I can't see it. And it's also because when you bring up Zach Greinke, the first thing that comes to my head is no, Zach Greinke is not a Hall of Famer. But you look at the stats, they are all better than Adam Wainwright. 225 wins, 349 career ERA, and he was 21 strikeouts shy of 3,000. Played 20 seasons. He did win a Cy Young once. He was a 6-time All-Star, 6-time Gold Glover, and he won the ERA title twice. If I just gave you those stats and didn't put a name with it, you would say, absolutely, that's a Hall of Famer. But then you say Zach Greinke, and you're like, because he was just sat on horrible teams. How many years did he waste with Kansas City or Arizona? Just, we'll get to the thing. We'll get to it. The referees won on Sunday night. Yes.
Taylor in the house.
He's there.
No, you're 100% because Kansas City has been that team. And I think that's where he got lost a lot.
Well, he just got lost everywhere.
When he was at the top of his career, I had to guarantee you, I didn't want to go against him. But, you look at those numbers, almost 3,000 strikeouts. How do you not? But you go,
He played
the teams.
He played for 6 different teams. He played for Kansas City on multiple occasions. He started his career there, obviously, and then he finished the last 2 years there. 3 years with the Dodgers, 3 years with Houston, 2 years with Milwaukee, and 1 year with the Angels.
I forgot he was in Milwaukee.
Yeah, that was
I totally spaced that one.
Right after leaving Kansas City the first time. But again, won 2 Cy Youngs, and on paper it's a Hall of Fame worthy, but you just don't think it. The other person that we may have seen for the last time is Joey Votto.
I
And
sure hope not.
I put him on here, not because he got honored, but he got ejected in the very first inning. And Votto is known for his ejections, and he's such a he's been so much more lighthearted here at the end of his career, and for him to get ejected just was kind of apropos. He may not be done. We will see. He becomes a free agent. He has played for 17 years. He's 40?
40 on the nose. Yeah.
So it's hit or miss. He's very much up in the air whether he wants to play or not. However, if it is the end of his career, to me, not a Hall of Famer, but a very good career.
Yeah, 100%. I love the attitude he has, especially over the last couple of years, of how many people have followed him and the stories that have come out with him. So I don't think he puts up Hall of Fame numbers, but I think he's that catalyst that can hold the team together. I mean, he only batted, I believe, 220 this year, and so not the numbers that he needed to keep going.
All right, let's get back into the National Football League, and let's just go right at it. What was the most impressive victory in Week 4?
I don't know if it's because I'm writing for them, but I sure like what Philadelphia is doing.
Really?
I do. The tush push to get back in and win this game again. They going back to that play. And how many times a game have they used it? I'm not sure.
I just love that the rest of the NFL can't do it. The Giants had 2 people get injured trying to do the tush push yesterday.
It is unbelievable. But, Hurts is showing signs of being up there again this year in what he's doing. He could be in the talk for MVP. I know it's early. Christian McCaffrey's throwing up some numbers that is going to be huge. But
Hurts would not be anywhere near my MVP right now.
But, what the team is doing defensively, I think is a lot better, especially in the run game right now, holding teams to right at 63 yards.
Eric says it's officially called the brotherly shove.
The brotherly.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
They're ranked 2 in yards given up, right behind of all teams. Do you know who number 1 is averaging?
No.
Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah.
Shutting down the run game at 60.8 yards a game. I just like to see what they're doing. Now, take nothing away from Washington, because Washington has played that game quite well. I think that one going into overtime, Elliott hitting a long field goal, it just kept things in, and which on one hand leads a little bit to Philadelphia has and I think can get beat, and so it's going to be one of those games. But I'm going to ask you that a question.
Okay.
Do you think that Hurts and AJ Brown is the top? You're laughing before I get it.
I saw this
passing combo already.
They might not even be top 5.
You don't think?
No, I'm not impressed by them, and I think Devontae Smith is fantastic for them too.
Yeah,
he's kind of been AWOL the last couple of games, where just not putting up the big numbers he did at the beginning of the year. But I mean, I have 2 better combos in my game that I'm going to talk about than Hurts and Brown.
Yeah.
And you could go with Brock Purdy and anyone right now with the way that team is going. No, it's a fine combo. I think you're overrating the Eagles. I mean, we all have. The funny thing is, 7 of the 8 of us had Kansas or San Francisco as our top team.
Right.
Only one person did not.
Chris.
And nope, actually, Chris was with us. We pick on Chris a lot, but no, Kennedy had Buffalo because she's going to help herself.
Yep.
But all 8 of us has Philadelphia second.
And
I think they're a very good team, and I think they are a Super Bowl contender. But their first 4 weeks have been, is it? Which is partially scary, because I do think that they have the talent to be much better than what they've shown, and they're already 4-0. So it could be scary for the rest of the league that they are going to start getting into a groove as the season goes on. They just have not looked that great to me.
How about this one
so far?
Chris says Detroit over Green Bay would be his.
I didn't get to watch a lot of this because we bowled on Thursday, but yeah, they jumped all over the Packers, and then by the second half, I just stopped watching because it wasn't much of a game. I knew the Lions had already got it won, and just kind of focused on my bowling a bit. But yeah, absolutely a very impressive win, because for how many years did Green Bay just destroy the Lions, and now they've won 3 straight, and they eliminated them from the playoffs last year, and now really kind of putting them back in their place. And with the way the rest of the NFC North is looking, the Lions are very much out in front for that division win now. But for me, it's Buffalo. Another pick I got wrong, and I thought it was going to be a close, high-scoring game, and that's kind of how the first half was. And then the Bills figured out a way to shut down Miami. And I think that was the more impressive stuff. I mean, you look at Josh Allen, he's 21 to 25, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's awesome. 3 of those touchdowns with Stephon Diggs, who was unstoppable in that game. The run game kind of disappeared, but they didn't really need it. But to me, it was the defense that really impressed me, where Miami scores 20 points, and I want to say 17 of those were in the first half, and then they just kind of got nothing going, especially in the pass game. They calmed down Tua and calmed down all those weapons that they had, and really started to pull away, and they looked like the much better team. It wasn't, oh, they got away with a division win at home. No, they looked like Miami was not on their level right now.
As Allen and Diggs finally got back on the same page.
They've been on the same page all the time. Like the NFL writers try to get something sparked up. And
how about Stephon Diggs and his homage to Stone Cold?
I missed it.
You didn't see?
I didn't see it.
Clash together 2 beers after he scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They were actually fun. I still believe in Miami.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Devon Achane was phenomenal again. 8 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did that on my bench on one of my fantasy leagues. I'm an idiot. I did a lot of bad things for week 4.
So
as far
you're
as
saying
NFL
this weekend
goes.
was really rough?
I was very focused on baseball. I won 1 championship and took second in the other one, so I was very, very focused on that. Football took a back seat on Sunday. I was more like just zoned in on baseball, and football was kind of over here, and the picks showed, and all my other decisions showed as well. Real quick, let's get into the NFL weekly awards. And you sent me a message, upset that I jumped all over the 2 good ones. I literally did not put stats. I just had to get the 2 names in because you always would beat me in baseball. So I had to get him in. But offensive player of the week, of course, for me, Christian McCaffrey, 20 carries, 106 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground, 7 receptions, 71 yards, and another touchdown. And yes, Jesse Knight did call out Eric Watkins for only saying 3 touchdowns instead of 4. I have not been able to chance to edit that for Eric yet. But
3 rushing touchdowns.
That's what I was going. I was, hey, you got 3 rushing touchdowns.
3 rushing touchdowns. But I put this back up there. I kind of agree with Chris. I fear Miami is going to get colder and have to play grinder football. Should happen.
But they have Achane.
They got Achane right now. They've got Tyreek Hill. It's going to be. I think you're jumping a little bit, but
I think they'll be all right.
Yeah. I'm going to go again. I asked you the question. Yep. I like this guy. I like what he's doing right now. AJ Brown, get him in Philadelphia. He has played quite well. 9 reception, 175, averaged over 19 yards per reception and 2 touchdowns.
Defensive player of the week, of course, it is the return of the Mac, Khalil Mack for the Los Angeles Chargers. How many sacks would Khalil Mack have gotten against the Giants yesterday?
If he was in pretty much every play,
yeah,
I would have said probably at least double what he got.
10 tackles, 8 of them solo, 6 sacks for Khalil Mack. He had 6 of the 7 sacks for the Chargers. Chargers hold on to beat the Raiders in a game that was a lot closer than expected, especially with Jimmy G out. But Khalil Mack was phenomenal.
I'm going to go with one of the guys from Seattle, Bobby Wagner, and he got to the quarterback twice out of the 10 sacks to Daniel Jones, and so he ended up with 17 tackles and 2 sacks in that game. So Seattle defense.
And Seattle was really good. Power rankings for us, our top 3 teams were the exact same: 49ers, Eagles, and the Bills. I have Miami still over Kansas City. You put Kansas City over Miami. Those were our individual top 5 power rankings. Thursday night football. Chicago is at Washington. Give me the Commanders.
6.5 point favorite right now. It's still early. We got 2 more days. I think Washington is just too much for Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields had a heyday throwing the ball the other day. So,
All right. I have held off for 50 minutes.
Do you mind if I just sit back and listen to your rant? I'm gonna prop my feet up and
You might
just have a good time.
You might. It could get interesting, but I got to hit the button. Hold on.
You got to turn up the board.
The Mac is not on over here. The volume was up, but I have to hit the button. God, technology in me.
It is.
No, I said, are you ready?
Sunday night football, folks. My New York Jets hosted Taylor Swift.
You came down in like the middle of the first quarter. You said you were done watching.
I didn't. I wanted them to turn off all the TVs and turn it on to anything else, anything more entertaining. Because yes, the Chiefs jumped out 17-0. All of us believed it was going to be a blowout because what we have seen from Zach Wilson throughout this year, and the Chiefs were just doing anything they wanted to offensively. And you're going, well, this was fun. Let's move on to anything else. And then Jets got a safety. I don't know if Robert Taylor is still here. I'm hoping I got the coast clear long enough, but I will say it's a questionable call, but I get it because there was a face mask before they got into the end zone, and then there was more of a face mask when they got in the end zone. So I'm with Rich Eisen where I'm guessing it was the twisting of the face mask when they got in the end zone, and that is why it was called a safety, not just a penalty. But either way, Jets get 2 points. At that point, yay, we got 2 points. Just yay for us. Then we get a field goal. It's 17-5. And I like Tom Grossi's reaction video where he's like, hey, maybe we'll get a scoregami out of this mess at least. But then Zach Wilson learned how to play football. I don't know how many times I looked at our buddy Tony Barden while we bowled on Sunday and went, who is this guy? Like, did we replace the quarterback when we weren't looking? Because he was making not only good throws, but he was making good decisions and he was making them fast, which is not what Zach Wilson ever does. He hits CJ Uzomah with a beautiful back shoulder throw in the end zone to make it a 5-point game. You know, it's a 8-point game going into halftime because Kansas City gets a field goal. And you're like, well, at least we're making it entertaining. This is great. Jets do get the ball at halftime. We'll see what happens. And all of a sudden, Zach Wilson, I've said this, the last 2 games, Zach Wilson has looked horrible except for one drive. Zach Wilson looked really good, especially in this drive. And yeah, I don't know if it was confidence or what, but that drive out of the second half was a thing of beauty. Everything was put into perfect place. And they get the big touchdown with Allen Lazard, and all of a sudden it's a tie game. And I came down and I told you, and I'm pretty sure, Chris, I think I sent it to you too, but I'm pretty sure I sent it to all of the other 6 people in our power rankings committee that if the Jets were going to pull this thing off, I was moving them to number 1 of my power rankings. Was it believable? No. But just out of celebration, I was going to put them first. Kennedy made fun of me after the game and said, well, this text did not age well. And I go, I didn't say I thought they were going to win. I just said if they did. I did. Okay. I did send it to Chris. I couldn't remember. I was sending it to a lot of people.
You were on a beeline down. And see, that was the thing. After you came down and said, well, this one's pretty much over. I was working on my envelopes, but I was focusing on beating up on Robert Kite because I knew he was bowling in the big monster bracket. And so I was, trying to poke and prod and get it. And so I kind of lost focus. Yeah. And then I saw the Allen Lazard catch and I was like, dang. And then they're back and here you come. I mean, you were 90 miles an hour because you were on 13, 14. I was on 7 and 8.
Part of it, I will say, I was afraid that if I took my time to get down there, everything would fall apart.
And the thing was, Haley and Val were bowling next to us. So I figured, okay, you're going to celebrate really quick and hurry all the way down after watching that. And so crazy. So
cool that we were tied. It was great. And had zero expectations for this. I took the Jets as my loser pick. I just had zero interest in this game until then. Kansas City kicks a field goal. It's like, all right, see what Zach Wilson can do. And he was driving They got it to midfield with about 7 minutes to go, and then he fumbled the ball, and you feel bad for him. And just the way, give Zach Wilson all the credit in the world. He took full ownership of it, and he said, I lost us this game. I don't agree with him, but that is not the Zach Wilson we saw last year. So these are all good signs as a Jets fan. Do I believe that we are back and we're playoff bound? Hell no. But we have good signs. There is a good chance that the Jets are going to blow up and lose to Denver next week. So don't take any of what I am saying as me now overhyping what we saw on Sunday night. Anything can happen on any given week of football.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that with Arizona beating Dallas. Anything can happen. It doesn't mean Arizona's a better team than Dallas, Chris. So if the Jets would have beat Kansas City, I would have made the joke of putting the Jets number one. But I still think this is a middle-of-the-road, at best, team with Zach Wilson at quarterback. That being said, everything then fell apart, and I have said it multiple times. I hate the fact that I cared so much. I went into Sunday night going, well, the Jets are going to get blown out. The season is just horrible after Aaron Rodgers' injury. No, this is good. You stop it, sir. Stop it. Like the Jets just are not going to be good. We're going to win 5 or 6 games. So that's just the way life is. Kansas City's going to beat us by 90. Mm-hmm. So I was never going to feel bad about this game until they made me care about this game. And then the referees blew 2 of the worst calls I have seen all year. What is it? 3rd and 23. It's like, all right, Jets are going to make them punt. And we're going to see what we can do. And I love that Nick Rossi, or not Nick, I put them together. Nick Wright. I put Nick Wright and Tom Grossi together. But Nick Wright said that, Twitter is just trying to find calls. I was yelling as the play was going on, as Jeremiah Johnson gets held for 5 seconds. And it's not like he was hidden in the line. They were all out there by themselves, absolutely getting held. Robert Taylor's made fun of me saying, well, this NFL player has said that, what are you looking at?
I watching the.
I just realized the music was still going, but we had it muted. That's what was going on over there.
Looking.
He was saying, this NFL player says it wasn't a hold. Are you going to say that this NFL player doesn't know what he's talking about? I'm like, well, look at all of these NFL players that says it is a hold. It's subjective.
There's holding.
It's
on
a bad
play.
call. It's a bad call. I absolutely hate it, especially because it was right in front of everything, and you could see it as Patrick Mahomes runs by, and then he runs for the first down. Jets did commit a penalty on that play, so it would have just been offsetting penalties. So it is what it is there. And then on a 3rd and 20, Sauce Gardner puts his hand around the neck of the receiver. I don't even know who it was, Tony probably. But does not grab at all. Give credit to Tony. He drops his shoulder to make it look like he's getting grabbed. The throw is nowhere near Tony, and it ends up being an interception. But after the interception is caught, then the referee throws a flag. Just bad. All of it was bad. I hated those 2 calls. Give credit to Kansas City. They wasted over 7 minutes on that final drive, made sure that the Jets never got the ball back. And who knows if the correct calls were made, or I won't even say correct calls. If the call was made towards the Jets, does that mean the Jets were going to win the game? No, but I would have just liked to have a chance. And as Robert Taylor has pointed out, there were several calls that went towards the Jets. There was a horse collar that was not a horse collar. I even messaged him when he goes, how is that a horse collar? I go, I thought they called face mask because the hand was up at the front. I'm like, well, maybe he thought he grabbed the head.
Yep.
And so that was a horrible call that really helped the Jets on their first touchdown drive. So again, as much as fun as I'm having fun yelling at the refs because they miss so much, it took away from a chance to see if the Jets could go on that drive. And I would have loved to see Zach Wilson get a chance after the fumble. But that being said, Wilson, 28 of 39, 245, 2 touchdowns. And he was only sacked twice, which was great. Mahomes, 18 of 30 for 203, a touchdown and 2 picks. So Wilson outplayed Mahomes, which is wild to say. But 2 things I'll say real quick before we get on because it's top of the hour. Breece Hall only got 6 carries, even though he was carrying at over 9 yards a carry. Like we We were babying him to start. We should not have been babying him in that game, especially when they got back into it. Dalvin Cook just does not look like the Dalvin Cook of old since he's joined the Jets. He's one of the worst yards per carry players in the league right now. I don't know if he's just unmotivated after Aaron Rodgers went down. I know he's still coming off that shoulder surgery. And we'll see if he can kick things off. They need to get him out in space and try to create stuff. But I will say I was 100% wrong about Isaiah Pacheco. I didn't think he was going to be a good back in the league. I thought he was going to be another CEH for Kansas City. He's really good. He needs to get more carries himself. 20 carries, 115, and a touchdown. There were many times where it looked like the Jets were going to get off the field, and Pacheco made a big play. So,
yeah, he's good. The last year, he just, for me, it didn't look like he was going to be anything huge. And to see him run the ball on a couple of occasions, he could easily get 1,200, 1,300 yards, if not more.
Right. I'm just disappointed the Jets made me care about a game that I wasn't going to care about, and then it ends up being a heartbreaking loss. That's all I'm going to say.
I haven't even looked. It's been a while, but I don't think I've looked to see, schedule-wise, who you get. I know you
Denver
get
and then
Philadelphia in 2 weeks.
And then it's bye week. Yeah. They got to beat Denver. If they want any chance of making a run, a lot of people were thinking a 2-4 start with Aaron Rodgers, with how tough the schedule was for the Jets. They have to win at Denver if they want any idea of making the playoffs. It is now top of the hour. You are listening and or watching to the R&R Sports Report. You can listen live on lcwarriorradio.com, and you can check us out on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Just search R&R Sports Report, and that's where you can comment like Chris and Eric have been doing throughout the show. We appreciate anyone that's been hanging out with us throughout our 151 episodes of this show. It is 58 degrees out there. One of the few times it's not been raining this week. But which I haven't really minded. The backyard's getting one last little dousing of rain before the winter comes and takes it all away.
It's football weather, and you can see. Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing my hoodie in here today. My LC Warrior hoodie from Alicia, but it's just kind of, it's comfortable. It's not bad yet. We'll see here in a couple of weeks, and when we do a couple of home games for football coming up for the Bantams here in a couple of weeks. So.
All right, let's get into it. Sports-related draft. I believe you won last week.
I did. Thank you very much, and I'm going to make it 2 in a row.
Yeah, as we did the best two-sport athletes. I am up 32-20 in this series. Eric Watkins has a win, and Denny Grubb has a win. Speaking of Eric, it will be me and Eric Watkins next week, as you will be unavailable, and that's a good time to let everyone know we will not. Well, we might be in studio. I think there is a way for me to get StreamYard on this side computer and just play computer audio as long as there's just one of us here. So, yeah, I think I'm going to attempt at least to get on the radio airwaves with Eric on Tuesday next week. So Eric has been always fantastic about hopping on and being a guest host for us. So we'll have a lot of fun talking about all sorts of goofy stuff next week. There's a good chance the format will just get thrown out the window with Eric and I. But
no, not with Eric.
All right, sports-related draft. As I said at the top of the hour, this is based off of what happened with Miguel Cabrera on Sunday and all the cool things that they did for him. In his final game, one big send-off for him.
Go ahead and say it. I tried to bend the rules.
Yeah, so for those out there, this is not fully about the final performance of a player or a retirement announcement. Robert did try to use Joe DiMaggio. Or no, who is it? Lou Gehrig. Sorry, Lou Gehrig. He tried to use Lou Gehrig as his, but to me, that's not a send-off. It's just a retirement announcement that they did.
And he didn't play that
at the game. So, I mean, if he would have played and then made the announcement or whatever, then that's kind of a send-off, a cool way to do it. And it is, in a way, a send-off, but to me, that's more retirement announcement. To me, this is celebrating a player during his final game. And with that said, I made the topic. You get the very first pick. And again, this is an iffy one to me, but go ahead.
How do you say it's
I'll talk about it.
No.
Well, you got to announce it first before I tell you why.
So for me, I went with a guy that come away with a win, and it was the second consecutive Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and he finally decides that he's calling it a career. He wins the Super Bowl.
Yep.
He wins the MVP. Why not ride out on a white horse? And so give me John Elway winning Super Bowl 33 and the Super Bowl MVP.
So I have a quick question because my memory is fuzzy because this was what, late 90s?
1999.
Very late 90s then. When this all happened. Had John announced he was going to retire that year before this? Or was it kind of hinted?
He had been hinting that he was going to be stepping away.
So that was where I couldn't remember with Elway, as if this just ended up being his last game and retired afterwards, or if he was kind of having a send-off thing. It could have been one of those where during the playoffs, reporters would ask him, especially that week of Super Bowl, where is this going to be your last game? And there's a chance that he could have hinted towards it. Again, the reason why I say it's kind of iffy is this isn't at home, so it's not the team giving him a send-off. However, it's the perfect way to end the career. So obviously I'll allow it, but I'm just out there for anyone listening for votes. It's a little iffy. It's a little iffy. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think, from the year before, this one's for John comment, and then for them to go back to back.
Right.
It's just a great way for this team. And I don't remember. I'm curious. I'm looking here. That was in Miami. You were right. They were in San Diego the year before when they won it, when Terrell Davis was the MVP, but they were in Miami and down in Florida, so defeated the Atlanta Falcons again. So, but yeah, for me, it has to be that one.
I mean, walking off in the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning did the same thing, and Peyton Manning was kind of that same situation. I think it was implied that he was going to retire at the end of the year, but it was never announced until after, I believe. So, kind of funny that both did it for Denver in that situation. That is not my pick. My pick, I had to go with the Yankee, just because what a way to end a career. Derek Jeter, one of the guys that you just think of clutch plays, a lot of them on defense, with the little back toss against the Oakland A's, or the diving into the bleachers for a big catch. Playing Baltimore, final home game of the year. The season was not quite over yet, but one of those years where the Yankees just could not get anything going. A lot like this year, where they finish above 500, but they just are not in the playoff hunt. So things are winding down, so they're able to celebrate Derek Jeter before the game and do all this stuff with him. And then up he comes with runner at second against the Baltimore Orioles. And I still believe, I would love to hear interviews from these guys, that the catcher just told them fastball down the middle. It's just what I want to believe, because, again, Baltimore's not playing for anything at that point either. And Jeter hits one into right field. A great throw by the right fielder. And again, why I think the catcher's into it. The catcher just kind of blocks it instead of making a grab and swiping it. I think he wanted Jeter to have that moment too. But a walk-off base hit for the very last at bat for Derek Jeter. Again, the Yankees had another series with Boston, and Boston did celebrate Jeter's career as well, but he did not play. That was it for him. So that is what a fantastic send-off. Not just the buildup of it, because it was one of those years where Jeter said in the offseason, this is my last year, so he got to kind of have that retirement tour, but then to end it on a walk-off, it's just beautiful.
And that's awesome. If you have not seen, and I know you have,
only 3,800 times.
But the series, The Captain, and watching it and just watch
that whole series. I've only watched it once, but yes, it's good.
It is unbelievable. And for him, for a guy that, like myself, I knew but what he did for the team and some of the games that you didn't get to see all the time, was unbelievable to hear some of the stories he had. So, but great guy. But I went with, on my second pick, I have to steal it. And I mean,
I was mad.
I know. I think you were going back to back, but
I was.
That is not what we saw
Harry's
this
here.
weekend.
Hey,
Not
Harry.
what we saw this weekend, but what we saw in this one, though. I was holding back the tears, and he announced it too. And I'm going to go Mariano Rivera. And
That's so good. It was done so well.
And to watch Pettit come out, you watch Mariano just tear up into the whole point of, and the long embrace. I mean, the hug.
So I've watched this a bunch too. Was it Posada and Pettit, or was it Jeter and Pettit?
Jeter and Pettit.
Jeter and Pettit that come out. I love that they did it in the 8th inning.
Mm-hmm.
So they made sure that he got into the game. Obviously, the one last playing. That was that the one where they had Metallica there live, or they had Metallica there live near the end of his career. I can't remember if it was that one or not. But yeah, one last playing of Enter Sandman, and then him coming out. I think he only pitched to one batter just to be able to get his send off. It's very well done.
Yeah, and that's another one of those moments where, oh my God, how can you not cry for this guy? I mean, he was 42 when he retired, and for what he did for that franchise was just.
There's a reason why he's the only unanimous Hall of Famer.
Yep,
which is still wild to me that other people aren't, but.
But I think out of all of it was watching the tears come from his eyes and the long embrace with him and Pettit. I mean, just tells you how strong that pitching core was for so many years with different guys in and out of that rotation.
So for Harry, who just hopped on right after this, we'll go through our first round picks for him when we recap. But this is best send offs for players, kind of what like Miguel Cabrera on Sunday. I was between Jeter and Rivera. I only went Jeter because of the walk-off, just kind of added to the mystique of it. Yeah, and Griffey was another person that was one vote shy, and that just continues to shock me. For me, let's go to basketball. And again, this kind of goes to the way he played at the end. I still also believe that the other team was in on it and kind of backed off a little bit. It's also because the dude shot 50 field goal attempts in the game. But that was a perfect way to end the career of Kobe Bryant. And again, we lost him far too soon. A year after this or so. But he scored 60 points. Yep, Kobe Bryant. And the great thing is they were down by 10 in the fourth quarter. And he scored the final 15 points for the Lakers to have a comeback victory at the end of it. Again, he shot 50 times and scored 60 points. So the field goal percentage was not great, but just that's Kobe for you. And just threw up so many points. And again, the video at the beginning of the game, which, added to the emotional stuff. This was a celebration of Kobe night for the final game of the regular season. And then for him to put up that kind of a performance, it's a great send off.
100%, Harry. And that's where I'm going to kind of with this, because the NBA has always been that way.
They
don't play defense. Not since the late 80s, early 90s when they finally stopped playing defense. But
that don't matter. It's a great send off.
Yeah,
they could have been playing defense, and then for this game they went, we're going to let Kobe have his flowers, and the game meant nothing.
Harry, did the Jazz just quit playing defense? That's what I want.
That's what he said. He said it in the comment already. So again, it don't matter. It's about the send off. It's not performances. So there you go. Give me a third pick.
All right, I'm gonna shock you.
Okay.
I was only 4 years old when this happened.
Okay.
And I do remember this. This was
how was Babe Ruth's last game?
It wasn't Babe Ruth.
Oh, okay.
No, and I'm gonna shock you because at this time I was actually playing soccer. I was playing stuff in Valley Boys and Girls Club stuff, and I remember. This was before all the cable TVs and all that, but I remember Lewiston Morning Tribune had a huge article about it, and I'm taking Pele.
Okay,
Pele, one of the most popular soccer guys, if not the best soccer guy to ever play the sport. And this last game that he had was an exhibition game that was in the United States, and he played for the New York Cosmos in the first half.
Okay.
And in the second half, he played for Santos of Brazil.
Okay.
So he played for both teams.
That is awesome, actually.
And the thing about it is he had a goal off a free kick before he went to play the second half for the other team.
Mm-hmm.
And just the match and in 75,000 people in New York Giants Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
it was a great send-off for him. And I still remember seeing the
Mm-hmm.
picture because, that's when Dad was trying to get me to play soccer, and that was a big thing then. And to see that was the name in the late 70s, early 80s
Mm-hmm.
of who was the athlete, before everybody got into NFL and everybody got on all of this. You say Pele, everybody knew.
I want to see that happen in an actual game.
Where you play one, score a goal, and then switch teams?
Or just one of those things where I'm trying to think of a good example of who could. But let's go to my last pick.
All right.
And again, the reason for this draft was what happened with Miguel Cabrera on Sunday and the fantastic send-off that he got. But let's just say that somehow Major League Baseball knew that this was going to be Miggy's last year. And let's just say they set it up where it was the Miami Marlins coming to town.
Right.
Obviously, you want it to be in Detroit because that is where he finished off his career. But he started with the Marlins.
Right.
How cool would it have been for him to come out for an inning
against the
Marlins as a Marlin?
Mm-hmm.
And let him play one inning at first base for the Marlins? It would make no sense. And the Marlins are in a playoff. They were in a playoff push, so it would not have worked out this year. But just say both teams were out of it. It would have been really cool just to see him in Marlins jersey for one inning. It would have been really cool. However, going back to how it went, again, I had teary-eyed going on Sunday, and I had it on the Octobox. All the different games were going on.
I think you were teary-eyed because you were almost going to win your fantasy football.
By then it was already set.
So that's where you were teary-eyed at.
No, I've won it before. I'm just that good. It's not true at all. But no, just the fact that they brought him out there to actually play first base. I doubt he's played first base this year more than a dozen times, just because he's up there in age, so he's a designated hitter. But let him go out one last time, play it first. Again, a ground ball goes right to him, so he makes the play, and then his kids come out, and they honor him for a good 10 minutes. Obviously, before the game, they did a bunch of stuff. They had his kids announce him for his first at-bat. Just all of it was just beautifully done for a fantastic career for Miggy Cabrera. Fantastic send-off. So there you go. Let us know. Exactly. Ball don't lie, Harry. I totally agree. Let us know who wins this week's sports-related draft. Again, greatest send-offs of all time. Robert took John Elway for winning Super Bowl 33, Mariano Rivera and Pele. And I took Derek Jeter and his walk-off hit, Kobe Bryant and his 60 points, and then Miguel Cabrera this Sunday afternoon. Now, let us know in the comments below who won this week. While they do that, let's quickly look at some local events, and we'll get into the football when we get into our picks. But how'd soccer go?
Well, soccer, Lewiston came away with a big beatdown of Post Falls, 7-0 on Saturday. This is known to be we're not 100% sure, but this could be the first IEL tournament title for the soccer program in Lewiston history. And I think you would probably know whether or not that would be.
I would have to go back and look.
And then so they have one more game coming up, and then they start playoffs already. They hosted LeGrand tonight, 4 p.m. Still haven't got a score update from that one. Clarkson came away with a big win on Saturday against Lake City, 3-2, but then played today against the number 2 2A team and got crushed 5-0 at that one. So the game on Thursday against Pullman, up in Pullman, and then they get to play next Tuesday up at the One Spokane Stadium. The girls will get to play their first game up there in the new stadium.
Yeah, no update on Idaho sports on the soccer game for Lewiston. So,
Haley, you got to vote for me.
Haley doesn't even listen half the time. But yeah, I won't repeat it. I already won. I say Chris voted for me as well. So it's 3-0 for me. So yeah, Haley, you can go right ahead and vote for Robert and give him a pity vote. That's okay with me. Some of the high school scores I will point out real quick because we did not get them in pick'ems. Kendrick beat Butte County 50-28. That game gets stopped in the fourth quarter due to a major injury for one of the players for Butte County. That stuff you just hate to see. Same thing with Logos and Potlatch. I meant to get his name. I'm blanking on it right now. It was a Potlatch quarterback that got injured. I did not hear how serious it was, but it was big enough where that game was nuts at halftime, and then Logos pulled away, obviously, because Potlatch lost their star player, but Logos wins that one 76-36. I told you the over-under was going to be over. It was 120.
Yeah.
It almost got there, and it would have if Potlatch had stayed healthy, but a big win for Logos, who continues to be absolutely ridiculous this year. Look at some LCSC news. Cross country was in action in 2 different places on Saturday. Bryson Brown finished 35th in a huge field at the Louisville Classic out there in Kentucky. So congratulations to him. And Aubrey Williams, in her first ever collegiate race, was in Walla Walla for the Whitman Invitational. She finished 13th. Also, shout out to my boy.
Yeah.
My boy Chase, who's been fantastic. I post about him every single week. Finished in the top 10 up there in Spokane last weekend for his freshman race. And kid we got to get him running in the summer to get even better. But what he has done this year has been ridiculous.
Yeah, unbelievable. And he's going to be taller than you are.
He's going to be taller than me, and he's in far better shape than me. And it's not fair. And I have to punch him all the time in the gut to try to sink him down a little bit because he is literally inches.
He's taller than I am. We talked about that at the Lewis and Clarkson game. He's come up and stood next to me, and I'm like, knock it off.
But if you are in the air, Chase runs on Saturday noonish time over there at the LC course. Go root him on, and everyone else. Lucas, again, has been phenomenal for this team.
I believe the junior high is racing there too. I think it's a huge event, junior high and high school.
Yeah, junior high I'm pretty sure junior high will start it, then JV, then varsity. There's a lot of times where they'll go junior high, varsity, then junior high or JV, which is weird. But the schedule I saw had varsity last. LC Golf, they just concluded the Beartooth Invitational at the Laurel Golf Club in Montana. Kyla Curry with back-to-back second place finishes. She finished tied for second in this one. And Bryden Brown, who is a native of Moscow, Idaho, got his best finish ever. He finished third. It looked like LC was right in there competing with everyone except for North Idaho. North Idaho has like 4 Tiger Woods on their team. Like the scores, especially on the men's side, was ridiculous. And also, Kyla, I want to say, just off the top of my head, finished plus 20 for her 3 rounds. The winner finished even par. And Kyla was only a couple shots off at second. Like everyone else was in this whole different battle, except for the lady that just dominated the whole thing. LC Volleyball, good week for the Warriors. They win all 3 of their matches, straight set victories over Walla Walla, Warner Pacific, and Multnomah. Kenzie Dean is now the 5th woman at LC ever to top 1,500 digs. LC is on the road for the next 2 weeks. They're at Evergreen State on Friday, Northwest on Saturday. And I asked Katie Palmer during our post game, I think it was on Friday when Kenzie passed 1,500, that if she could just slow down Kenzie a little bit, because right now the way the pace that Kenzie is on, she will pass Katie Palmer for second all time before they come back home. And I was really hoping that they would be able to do it at a home game. She goes, well, we'll celebrate when she does it on the road, and then we'll do a celebration when we get back home. So very cool for her.
Yeah, and also another one, Juliana Forgash Aguilar, attacker of the week for the CCC.
She's so good.
She's really good.
And the freshmen on this team have been absolutely phenomenal. Like the record is not showing how good this team has been, but they're building something really cool over there at LC. You need
to come and watch on the 20th. When they're back home the 20th and 21st.
Yeah, the only 2 matches in October. There's only 4 matches left at home. So
I do have a bone to pick with Harry now.
Uh-oh.
Harry, how can you vote for Randy when you take your picks, you're taking 2 of who I picked. And he said he was giving you the victory. I don't understand.
Because mine was
Is
close
Kobe
enough.
that good that you're going to take
Yeah.
Kobe is greater than Elway Rivera?
Well, he picked
Please.
Cabrera, not Kobe, but
I'm saying, he's saying because he said he picked you.
yeah, because Cabrera
Kobe
was
is
so
that
much better than Pele, and Kobe was close enough with Rivera, and I disagree with the Elway
Yeah.
thing anyways, because it wasn't really a send-off. It was just a great last game. Let's just put it out there.
You just didn't want me to use Lou Gehrig because you knew
Because
that
that's
was
not
the
a send-off. It's a
ultimate
retirement
tearjerker.
announcement. It's a whole different thing. If we did retirement announcements, there we go in a whole different direction. All right, let's get in. Let's get into a different argument.
Sanders and just fax it in and work anymore. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that would not be a good send-off and or retirement announcement.
Edgar, Edgar's the GOAT, but they really didn't do a huge. It wasn't nationally out there. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, and they definitely should have made that a bit bigger. All right, you ready to argue about something else?
Yes, I got my vote.
Nope. Okay, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I did beat Harry in our fantasy league by less than a point. But now that I've lost this vote, I don't care about bringing that up. And that's with having A-Chan on my bench like an idiot.
I'm still upset that Kenny didn't invite me to play on that league.
Yeah, maybe next year.
She's fired.
She is crushing that league right now. She's the only undefeated team at 4-0, and it's not because she's getting lucky. She's like just outscoring all of us. Luckily, I survived Harry, and I'm now 2-2. Poor Harry's 0-4, and, and again, I beat him by a point, and it was just brutal.
Harry's had a rough weekend then because he picked up his first win in the loser pool too.
Yeah, Harry, I've sucked this year. It's true. It's true. All right, let's get into our power rankings. Let's have some fun. Our top 5, we're the same 5 teams, but the Bills and Dolphins flipped. It's 49ers, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs, and Dolphins in our top 5. The next 5 in our top 10, Ravens are 6th, Lions, Cowboys, Seahawks, and Jaguars. And actually, it is the Lions and Cowboys tied for 7th, technically. Anything out of those top 10 that really jumps out to you before we move on?
I think, and I'm saying this because I'm a Raven fan, I still think Ravens are still a little bit too high on the group side of it.
You have them 7th on
I have
6th.
I wanted to put them 8. I wanted 7, 8,
yeah.
and I was back and forth. I got to those middle ones, and for that. As far as Miami, and I think that's why I went with them 5 is just because they had lost to Buffalo, and Buffalo just really showed their dominance.
Absolutely.
I think they could easily project themselves farther above this group if that rookie keeps running the way he is. Dude, look out! They might.
Yeah, Buffalo. They have a running game now, even though they didn't really need it on Sunday. But they have a more complete team. I'm still shocked that the Jets beat that team with what they've looked like since. I was really tempted to put Buffalo over the Eagles for 2, and I am surprised that no one did. Other than, we already said Kennedy actually has Buffalo first, but every single one of us, all 8 people, had the Eagles at 2. The other 7 obviously had San Francisco at 1.
And Harry does bring it up, though. He said Ravens beat the brakes off Cleveland. Now, if you read my write-up on them.
Hey, actually, Harry brings up a good point. What rookie for Buffalo?
Not Buffalo. I said Miami.
Oh, for Miami. You were talking H. I got you.
Baltimore's got to clean up the penalties. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
No Deshaun Watson. I think a few of those errors are huge that Dorian Thompson made.
And I picked Cleveland, and if we had the chance, so we don't ever switch our picks after they get posted, even though injuries are going to happen or inactives are going to change a lot of things. I wish I could have, because I would have flipped to Baltimore. But yeah, Deshaun Watson made that game completely different.
Yeah.
Let's look at some big movers here. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who moved up into the top 10, moved up 7 spots. They were up from 17 to 10. That is the only team that I disagree with being in the top 10. Not by too much. I had the Jaguars 14th. You're with me. You had them 13th. I would have had the Chargers in our top 10, and you would have had the Buccaneers. We'll get to them here shortly. But yeah, the Jaguars definitely in that London game got things going. That's going to be a really fun game early Sunday morning in London between the Jaguars and Bills. I'm very curious to see if staying over in Europe a week early and just staying over there is going to have a big impact over Buffalo, who is just going over there right now. I do think Buffalo is a better team than Jacksonville, but I'm very curious what that will do. This is an interesting experiment, and it's weird that they're doing it with such a big matchup like Jacksonville and Buffalo. Real quick, though, before we move on, we have not talked about this yet. You and I have both did watch bits and pieces of football and Toy Story. I have to say, they had a lot of technical difficulties in that first half. There's a lot of times where they just had to show the commentators because they couldn't get the ball technology correct. Twitter was having a blast with it because the touchdown throw from Trevor Lawrence to Calvin Ridley, the ball didn't go correctly, so it went away from Ridley and it was a touchdown. So they're like, kids that are watching football for first time is going to think that this is a catch and the ball is 5 feet away from it or whatever. But I thought the technology was really cool and a lot of fun. I thought it was a fantastic way to introduce the game to kids that, don't know a lot about football, to the point that Addie sat there. Addie will not watch sports with me. Like, she will go around, throw a ball around, hit the ball, whatever. We'll have fun. We'll play sports.
Right.
But she is not a sports fan. She's not going to sit and watch it ever. She watched 3 straight drives of this game, partially because they had Toy Story trivia on commercial breaks, and we had a lot of fun doing that. But it was like, there were so many people going, this is trash, this is garbage. It ain't for you. If it was the only way to watch this game, I would have been mad. But what a cool way to introduce it to young kids.
Yeah, I thought the cool part of a few of them was like having the Slinky dog as the yard markers. You saw that. That was great. I was hoping that somebody would have hit the uprights because I would have loved to see the blocks fall all over.
That would have been so
That
good.
would have been cool to see. But to watch, seeing the lines of how the ball was, the trajectory thrown out for the pass, I thought that was really cool. And it really, I kind of really wish I could have watched it with the grandkids and
I agree with Harry. It was a good concept. It was poor execution, especially early on. I stopped watching that version about halfway through the second quarter and then went, all right, now I'm going to focus in on the actual game. I'm still not a big Booger McFarland fan, and him being the color commentator for that game was a little annoying, but I think that was a good space for him because they were spending a lot of time not even really talking about the game. They were focused more on just introducing things and like what each position is and what they do. So, and I'm with Harry. There was a lot of technical issues where if you were there to see how weird it was going to be and watch a football game, that first quarter was not for you because they had a lot of technical issues.
And I watched mine via highlights, so I got to watch. NFL Network did their highlights of here's what's happening, and that's it. So I didn't, not having the ESPN Plus and all that, it kind of hurt a little.
But Woody and Buzz were around. I mean, obviously you had Slinky Dog as the line marker. Chris was sad that not a lot of Pixar characters and no Woody and Buzz. They had Woody and Buzz run around at some point.
They had Little Bo Peep a couple times.
Yeah, it wasn't as focused on Toy Story as it was. But again, it's a good first attempt. I'm with Eric. Hopefully they continue to do it and they improve on it, and we will see where it goes. Tennessee goes up 7 spots. They were tied for 23rd. They go all the way up to 16th. That was a pretty dominating performance last week against Cincinnati, who's a team that's just on the free fall. And speaking of the Bengals, they were down 5 spots. They were at 13th. They're down to 18th. Eric still has them in the top 10, which is a bit surprising to me. He has them 9th. Sean has them as low as 27th.
I struggled with this one because I know what they're capable of and what they do.
Yeah.
I moved them down to 23. I wanted to put them somewhere 19 to somewhere to between 19 and 23, and I just finally that bottom spot
Yeah.
just seemed to stick.
Kennedy still has them in the top 10 as well. She has them at 10th. Zach and I had them at 16th. And then Chris at 20, you at 23, Harry at 26, and then Sean at 27. I'm with you where there's still belief in this team. But honestly, they just need to sit Joe Burrow for the next 2 weeks. He is not right. There's more than his injury that is affecting this team. But you have 2 weeks and then the bye week. I would just punt these 2 weeks and then try to go on a crazy run after the bye week, get Burrow as healthy as possible, but they're never going to do that. So,
because the guy you got to back him up is Jake Browning. I mean, how dependable is him? You know, and you even watch what Jamar Chase was saying. You know, throw me the ball. I'm going to make something happen. What is this now? 3 state games with no touchdown pass, and so or completion. So it's rough watching this team that's got some decent talent on it not come out and play 100%.
I love the fact that, so with this new segment with the power rankings and have fun discussing, we're not involved in any of this, but our biggest ranking spreads, which would have been a lot more fun if we have these guys and we're able to get these conversations between the people on the biggest spreads. But the team that has the biggest spread, and I would love for these two to duke it out friendly on the comment section. But Indianapolis Colts, there's a 20-spot spread for the Colts. Chris highly believes in this team. He had them 9th. And Eric has them as low as 29th. They finished 21st in our rankings. Let me pull up the rest of our stuff here. Sean has them second highest at 17. Harry and you, Mr. Hagan, have them at 18th. And then Zach 21st, me 23rd, Kennedy 27th, and then Eric 29th. Anthony Richardson shows a lot to me. But he's a bit too inconsistent. His first half was absolute garbage, and then the second half was very impressive, and that's how they got into overtime. I think the defense is pretty good. You saw that when they pulled the upset with Gardner Minshew against your Ravens. But I don't know if I would be ready to put them top 10 yet.
Not at all. And not knowing what this team is going to do, when and if. When is he coming back? When is Jonathan Taylor eligible to come back?
Oh,
isn't he?
Chris, okay, I'm going to just throw this out here, Chris. You need a better way of coming up with your rankings. That's twice. He did that with the Rams last week, too. So you need to put them on a sheet of paper or something where you can double check your rankings.
I do mine on a spreadsheet, and I keep last week, and I move them over. I put records.
So I'll give Chris the pass for having them up that high. But there's a couple others that were up there pretty high as well. I mean, you had them about middle of the pack. Another one, this is being interesting. Kennedy never gets on the show, so we don't get that. But Tampa Bay, a 19-spot difference. Eric loves them. He has them in his top 10 at 7. Kennedy still has them at 26th, which I don't agree with. The Buccaneers are definitely a team that I am hesitant on moving up because I still don't believe in Baker Mayfield, but you have to give credit where credit is due. He has been playing well. That defense is still good. Eric has them 7th. You and Sean had them in the top 10 at 10th. And then Harry and Zach are at 13. I'm at 15. Chris at 17. And then Kennedy just does not believe.
I'm going to say 3 names in the defensive front 8. And that's why. And
that makes sense.
Vea, it is Devin White, and it's Shaquille Barrett. What those guys are doing defensively for this team, they are keeping them in these games. And that's the biggest part for this team is they're showing that. And so you look at who they've got over the next couple weeks. Detroit, that's going to be a great game, but there's no reason why they couldn't knock off Houston, Tennessee, but then they get San Francisco. So they're playing well. Baker's not quite there yet. Mike Evans has been decent. Godwin, if they got to get in that tandem. And it's like I said last week, they've got to find that rhythm with those three guys.
All right, let's move on to our football pick'em. So again, guys, play along even with the high school picks. I know Harry and Eric are not from here, but let's have some fun real quick. And then Harry, definitely don't go away because we got some wrestling talk at the end. And Eric, Aussie Rules football to close things out. Last week we were both phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was 17-3 overall, 9-1 in high school, 8-2 in college, and you, sir, 10-0 in high school. Congratulations. You did struggle in college going 6-4, but you were 16-4.
Yeah.
Again, we don't obviously there's no spread for high school football.
Right.
Degenerates have not gotten that far, or at least for Idaho football. I'm sure there are spreads for Texas football.
Oh yeah,
for sure. But like we don't go against the spread for these, but I'm trying to find close lines, and you'll see that with this week. And we still did really good. And for high school, I'm not picking a great team against a bad team. We always have to have our Lewiston and Clarkston and Asotin. But Texas, California, Florida, absolutely. They all have spreads for sure.
Lake City, Sandpoint. I mean, we're not anywhere close to those, and they weren't, one substantially better than the other picks. So I mean, for us to split on that one, I mean, I got lucky. Honestly, I do.
That's all right.
So
that is how it is.
But I'll take my 10-0.
Harry, Ohio might. That's true too. All right, we got to go through these kind of quickly because we are a little bit behind. We've had some fun discussions, but high school football. Post Falls is 4-2. They are at Lewiston, who is 3-3. Real quick, their only mutual opponent this year is Sandpoint. Lewiston lost by 19 to them. Post Falls beat them by 20. Last 5 meetings have been all within 6 points, which is wild to think about. The home team has won 4 of those 5 matchups. Lewiston is 3-0 at home. So while the mutual matchup would suggest Post Falls, Bingle's playing good over there at Bingle Field. I'll go Homer. Give me Lewiston.
You're taking that one. I'm going to take one different. We don't have many. I'm going to take this one different. Only reason Post Falls only allowing 113 points so far this season. So give me Post Falls.
Not too shabby. Clarkston is 3-2 at a surprising 4-1 Rogers. This will be at the new one Spokane Stadium.
Excited.
You will be on the call, so that's going to be a cool venue for you to check out.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this game up there. Clarkson did play last Thursday in a downpour in the fourth quarter against North Central. Come away with the win, 28-0. They did like the field, and it was, from everything I've heard from the players, they enjoyed it. But it's going to be a tough game. Rogers finally loses their first one to Shadle Park this past week. I can't go against them. I'm still taking Clarkston, but it's going to be close.
I was really tempted because other than that win against North Central, Clarkston has not traveled well. All of their losses have come on the road, and they were not pretty. Rogers has really turned this program around after being kind of the laughingstock of the GSL for several years. Give them credit, but give me Clarkston. Through these real quick, Pullman is 2-3. They're at Shadle Park, who is 4-1. Shadle Park, a lot of their wins have been really tight, so I'm still unsure how good this team is, but they're better than Pullman. Give me Shadle Park.
Lots better than Pullman. Like I said, Shadle Park upset or beat Rogers this last week, so give me Shadle Park at home.
Asotin is 3-2. They go on the road against Reardon, who is 2-2, and Reardon did win last year 23-21 in this matchup, but give me Asotin.
Yeah, they're not playing all that well. Give me Asotin. Reardon's only scored 76 points.
I talk about picking games that are not one-sided. When I looked up the stats, this might be a little one-sided. Dayton is 2-2, Pomeroy 4-1. Pomeroy has scored over 40 points in each of their last 4 games. Dayton has given up 38 points or more in 3 of their 4 games. Pomeroy is going to roll.
You said it all. Give me Pomeroy.
Lewis County is 2-3 at Tri-Valley, who is 3-2. Lewis County has won their last 2 meetings. Tri-Valley has scored 50 or more points in all 3 of their wins. 8-man football, so fun. Give me Tri-Valley.
Yeah, 100%. Lewis County is struggling to score anything right now. Give me Tri-Valley.
Coeur d'Alene 4-2 at Lake City 2-4. Tough to pick a road team in some of these conference games. because they see each other so much. But Coeur d'Alene has won the last 8 meetings. Lake City has not scored in the last 2 games with Coeur d'Alene. Give me the Vikings.
Listen, this is Coeur d'Alene versus Coeur d'Alene, as Lake City is in Coeur d'Alene, not a ton travel point. Right now, Coeur d'Alene is outscoring their opponents 2-1, over 150 points, holding their opponents to less than 70. Give me Coeur d'Alene.
This will be a fun one. Lapway and Prairie, they're both 3-2. Lapway scored 80 points last year against Prairie. I think the Pirates come out for revenge. Give me Prairie.
100%. Prairie averaging right now in the first half alone over 46 points in their games. So give me Prairie with an early lead over.
Love 8-man football. Lakeland 3-3 at Sandpoint, who's 3-3. Lakeland. I don't know what happened to them because obviously they're not in our area as much, but they won their first 3 games and they've scored a total of 10 points in their final 3, and they were shut out in the last 2. Give me Sandpoint.
Does that sound like Colorado Buffaloes? Just wondering.
Well, at least they played good teams. I'm hoping it wasn't an injury or something that happened with the Hawks.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure. Sandpoint, I was high on them last week. They upset Lake City. So give me Sandpoint again.
Grangeville 2-3 at St. Mary's, who's 2-4. Both teams are 1-0 in the 2A Central Idaho League. Grangeville had a 5-game winning streak against St. Mary's until last year when that win streak was snapped. But give me Grangeville here.
It's hard to go against Grangeville in this one, especially when St. Mary's has given up over 200 points so far this year in 5 games. So give me Grangeville.
So we have 1 game different
in the high school.
And it's Post Falls and Lewiston. So there you go. College. It's not MAC yet. It's not the MAC time yet, but we got Wednesday night football. I'm probably not going to watch it anyways, but Florida International is 3-2 at New Mexico State, who's 2-3. I don't know. New Mexico State.
I'm taking New Mexico State. They are favored 6.5. They are at home, losing record, but their running game, looking at the one guy, looks like he could be a stud if they just hand the ball a little bit more.
Another game that I don't know much about, but it's just fun to pick these kind of games. You kind of look at different stats and see what works. Yes, I'm so ready for action. Get these Tuesday night games, have football live while we're doing the show. It'd be great.
There you go.
Thursday night, Western Kentucky, who's 3-2, is at Louisiana Tech, who is 3-3. Western Kentucky's a 6.5-point favorite. Give me the Hilltoppers. Their quarterback over 1,300 yards already, 11 touchdowns, 2 INTs.
We have seen Louisiana Tech play Idaho many times, and Idaho normally rolls them. So give me Western Kentucky.
A bottom 10 contenders for sure. On Friday, we got a game that is between 2 bigger schools, but I would much rather watch the games on Wednesday and Thursday than this garbage. It is Nebraska, who is 2-3. Illinois is a 3.5-point favorite. They may not score more than 3 points in this game. Nebraska's had a horrible offense all year, and Illinois' quarterback has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. Give me the Fighting Illini.
I tried to get somebody to help out with their input on Nebraska. They were at the game last week, and they would not give me an answer. So I'm going to go Illinois. So.
All right, let's go to the Saturday games. Get to the good football action. Usually you want good games throughout the week. We did not get those. Saturday is a lot more fun, though. Let's go some Pac-12 action. Your number 13 Washington State Cougars are against ESPN. UCLA. Oh, man, the fight between Pat McAfee and ESPN and WSU is so funny. By the way, I have a buddy who writes in Southern Idaho, Brandon Walton, who's in one of my fantasy leagues, and we've had some good conversations. We've had some good debates, too. He's a wrestling fan, so I talked to him this way. If you believe Pat McAfee really hates Washington State, you do not understand Pat McAfee.
Exactly.
He is playing a heel character. There is a chance that College Game Day will end up in Pullman because Reese Davis absolutely loved the first trip to Pullman. This is the last year that the Cougars are going to be part of the Pac-12 for now, unless they do that weird 3-tier system, which, Eric, don't let me forget, we're going to have that debate next week. There's a chance that they can go to the Palouse for a Washington State game. Don't let it even escape your mind that Pat McAfee said what he said so that if they show up in Pullman, he will get booed for an hour and a half. It's going to I was there for the first time they were in the Palouse. It's going to be so fun to boo him for the whole show.
Well, I talked with Denise about which game I thought that they would show up for. Unfortunately, I would think it would be against Coach Prime.
Yeah, it's the perfect
It would be the great one. They would have to change it because that is a Fox game. We're currently scheduled for Fox.
Actually, they don't have to change the game because when College Game Day came to Pullman the first time, it was with their game against Oregon. They did not have that game.
Okay.
I
don't remember that.
Herb Street, who obviously does College Games Day, then traveled out to watch Penn State upset Ohio State that day. So it does, the game doesn't have to be there. The only issue is there's a good chance that Fox is going to want to be there. For that game.
I think that would be it. But to see everybody on that train and all that, I think the Cougars are going to come out with a big fire on their in their game. So give me Washington State with that one.
I've said this for the 3+ years we've been on this show. Pac-12 is going to Pac-12. What do I mean by that? They can't have nice things. It's not because the Pac-12 is down. It's not because the Pac-12 has bad teams. It's not because the Pac-12 does not have the same competition as other conferences. It's the exact opposite. They have too much competition, and when one team looks like they're going to have a good year, what happens? They lose. What did I say last week? Utah was going to lose because they were undefeated, and Oregon State was not. Got that one right. I'm going to be right here, too. UCLA on the road, who's not given up more than 14 points all year in any game. They are going to upset the Cougars at home.
It'll be a good one.
What is this? Bedlam? What do they call this? Oklahoma and Texas. Somebody, I forget. I'm blanking on the rivalry name. Bedlam is Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So I forget what Oklahoma and Texas's rivalry is, but they play it at the big country fair and all that stuff. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite. The Longhorns won 49-0 last year. Give me Texas. Red River rivalry. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Texas.
Or shootout. Yeah.
I think Texas is gonna just dominate this game, even though it is number 3 against number 12. I think this is a close ranking, but give me Texas.
All right, number 23 LSU, who's 3-2, at number 21 Missouri, who is 5-0. I picked this game because I was dead sure I was going to pick Missouri. And then we were going to have a game different because I know you and you don't like to go up against LSU. But Missouri's 5 wins: Vanderbilt, Memphis, Kansas State, Mid-Tennessee State, and South Dakota. Give me LSU.
LSU all day long over that.
Just realized we have 7 minutes left. Holy crap. Number 11, Alabama at Texas A&M. Give me Bama, or give me Texas A&M.
This is the one that was the last one to fill in. I filled it in at 5:35 tonight. Give me Bama.
Just to be different.
Number
24, Fresno State against 4-1 Wyoming. We got a
sorry, George.
Yeah, George over here was watching the Wyoming game before the volleyball game on Saturday, but I'm taking Fresno State.
Yeah, sorry, George. I'm also taking Fresno as they've got their 6-point favorite.
Colorado State is 2-2. Utah State is 2-3. Colorado State is favored, but give me Utah State.
Yeah, I'm taking the home team on this one. Give me Utah State.
And because I have to, Colorado at Arizona State. Colorado's a 4-point favorite. I do think they bounce back after the 2 losses. Give me the Buffs.
You are into Coach Prime and what Colorado do.
There was not a lot of good games.
Give me Colorado.
Super quick. Congratulations to the Waco Wonders for winning the Elias Cup. Very cool moment. Parker Bone was having a lot of fun. Ryan Simonelli, who used to be part of the Lumberjacks, got his revenge against them. They absolutely dominated this whole tournament. Speaking of domination, that was Team Europe in the Ryder Cup.
That was after Friday. They had a 6.5, 1.5 lead. I mean,
never close. We talk more about that, but we have 6 minutes here, so I'm just trying to blitz through all of this. I apologize. Ryan Blaney won the Talladega race. They had a wreck 10 feet from the finish line. And I just had to bring this up. We're not big onto the NBA, but I love NBA trades. So Milwaukee gets Damian Lillard from Portland in a 3-team deal. Blazers get Drew Holiday. Please hold that in thought. DeAndre Ayton Kamara. I'm not going to try that first name. How about a 2028 unprotected pick swap, which means that Portland gets the better pick no matter what between those two. 2029 unprotected first round pick and a 2030 unprotected pick swap.
We're
doing
talking
2030 picks.
out. 6 years out.
Yes, real quick, because we have 5 minutes and I want to get to other stuff. That NASCAR fight, the Crash the Truck series between a young kid that I've never heard of and Matt Crafton. As the young kid was bloodied up to no end, basically threatening the life of Crafton. And I think I sent you the video. I don't know if you watched it, but saying he's going to kill him at Homestead. He said it twice. And turn on the Craftsman Truck Series race at Homestead next week. That's for sure.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But anyways, in this trade, the Suns get a bunch of people too. And then Portland takes that Drew Holiday and they send him off to Boston. Blazers there get Robert Williams III, Malcolm Brogdon, a 2024 first-round pick that used to be with Golden State, and a 2029 unprotected first-round pick. So the Blazers, in about 6 years, are going to have some fantastic draft capital.
Oh, my God. I don't know how we follow all that within 6 years.
They won't have any of those picks. They will have traded them off.
They'll be gone.
NHL starts this week. Colorado Avalanche and Carolina Hurricanes are your favorites for the Stanley Cup. Devils, Maple Leafs, Oilers, Stars, Golden Knights also high on that list. Will we finally get into hockey this year?
I want to. There's already been hockey games going on.
Preseason stuff. Yeah. Those do. Yeah.
I'm ready to get. Maybe I need to watch a little bit more.
Edge showed up at AEW for the Wrestle Dream thing. It just felt weird. Like I wish Edge all the luck, and I hope it all works out at AEW. I have harsh words for AEW because of a couple of the wrestlers there. Some of the other rest of that product is really, really good. I love what Christian is doing over there, but just seeing Edge come out was weird.
Yeah,
I
saw the Twitter post, but that was about it. I'm more excited about one that came back in WWE.
Quick.
I'm a huge Nia Jax fan.
God, no!
Love seeing what she did.
Absolutely
to start
horrible.
And Raw.
All right, legit, super
All right,
quick.
here we go.
WWE Fastlane is this week. Give us your predictions right now. John Cena and LA Knight versus the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Give me Cena and Knight.
Yeah, give me the GOAT. John Cena.
I was going to say, what are you saying about
The
Solo? You look like a goat. What is happening?
Yeah.
World Heavyweight Championship last man standing match. Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I love the build to this, and I love the more dark side to Nakamura, but give me Rollins.
Yeah, I think Rollins figures a way to give me it. Come on, Harry.
I'm sorry, Harry. I do not acknowledge his thing. Who'd you say?
I said Rollins also.
There you go. WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky the champion against Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Please don't take the title off of Io yet.
I think Charlotte gets another one, so give me
She has
Charlotte.
too many.
I know.
Undisputed Tag Team Championship match. The Judgment Day of Damian Priest and Finn Balor versus the weird combo of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. It's going to be the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I think they find a way to get done, but I think this really rocks thing out. But yeah, give me the Judgment Day.
And then finally, the LWO versus Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. It's going to be Lashley and the Street Profits because they're building them up.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right on that one.
Finally, and I'm so sad that we only have 2 minutes to talk about this, but that's the life of a 2-hour show. Collingwood comes away with the grand final victory over Brisbane, 90-86. Absolutely fantastic showing for Collingwood. What a good back and forth battle. Collingwood was down for a lot of the second half, but had back-to-back goals in like a minute and a half period that really took all momentum away from Brisbane. It was a really good grand final.
It was a great one. Very physical, to the point that there's one player I dislike on that Brisbane team.
Okay.
And I do not like Cameron. He just the arrogance, the way he plays with it. But with that being said, he played quite well. But hats off to Bobby Hill. What Bobby Hill did for Collingwood. Oh my God, what did he end up with? 5 or 6 goals?
Yeah, we'll talk more AFL, especially with Eric next week for sure. I watched the second half again live with Haley, who every time they said Bobby Hill, she chuckled. Every time they said Cox, she could chuckle. She couldn't help herself. But no, it was a fantastic grand final. They really need to step up the halftime show for the grand final. And I'm glad Dom got the strap back. Thank you for the spoiler, Harry. That's totally fine. I was just going to watch the YouTube clips anyways, but Mommy was mad.
Mommy was back
on
that's
Monday.
why.
So there you go. That is a fantastic quick 2 hours. So again, I appreciate everyone that has commented tonight, especially Eric, Harry, and Chris for being a big part of the show. And again, thanks to them and everyone else that does the power rankings, and big shout out to all of you for how fast you guys got that stuff in yesterday. It just makes it so much easier for me to tabulate all that stuff and get the power rankings out on a timely manner.
I'll see you back in 2 weeks.
Yes, Robert Hagan will be gone next week. So again, I'm going to attempt to still have it on the radio, but we're going to try some stuff with the audio. Hopefully it all works out. But if you watch this show, you know what technology does to me. We'll do everything we can to make that work. Actually, you know what, Eric? You have to come up with the sports-related draft topic this week. So you let me know what our draft is, because it was supposed to be Robert's turn. And Robert, it's your turn when you get back.
Gotcha.
There you go. That is it for us. Episode 151 in the books. So until a week from now, that's Robert. This is Randy. This is the R&R Sports Report, and we are out.